Morning, guys. How are you guys doing? I hope you've had a blessed season so far. A lot of us have taken the opportunity to, catch up with family. Well, if we've got a child under one and we're abiding by the lockdown rules and what have you, we've been fortunate to see family, or a lot of us have been doing Zoom chats across with family as well, so that's been amazing. And I hope everyone's being safe, staying blessed. Yeah.
Grand rising, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And today we are this is day 3 of our talk series that we planned for the end of the year. And we were, as we said previously, using and focusing on the Kwanzaa principles. And today is Ujima, and it's means or represents collective work and responsibility. As I've said before, and I'll probably say it every day, we don't celebrate Kwanzaa traditionally. It's not something that we obviously recognize it and acknowledge it throughout the year. But in terms of the actual ceremony and ritual celebrations, we don't really get into it that much. But we thought, because of everything that's been going on for the last year, it would be a good way, because we don't know what the future holds. We don't know what 2021 is going to be like or about. And normally we have this attitude of, well, hopefully next year will be better. I think this way would be a better way than saying hopefully next year will be better. Perhaps these are things that we can incorporate and really look at and utilize and focus on as a community, so that whatever happens next year, we can make it better for each other and ourselves,
Definitely.
So, yeah, we have again today a wonderful lineup of guests that we're going to talk with. These are some really inspirational people, like all the people we have, and we really enjoy having conversations with them. So we thought we'd share our conversation on this topic today with you. Do you want to introduce?
So the first guest we're going to be introducing is Gianni.
I don't know if he's ready or not.
Yo.
Greetings, King.
Yeah.
Oh.
I got my little one today, man. So
no, you know what? This is a family platform, so he's
gonna be a part of the equation right now,
Grand rising, little princess.
That's beautiful though. So
give me 1 second, yeah. Give me 1 second, guys.
Okay. Okay, so we have also the other person, but they're not there yet. So yeah, I think essentially it's been I think it's been really challenging, but there's been a lot of lessons learned. Do you know what I mean? And I think the thing that it's not a case of what we need to. The common questions, the common conversations we're having is like, what are we going to do next? Because I think so many people had so many plans for this year. And it's been, it's been one thing after another. Although many of us say that we've been prepared, and a lot of people in our community have been like, I told you so. But even those in our community have been like, I told you so. Still, I don't think was prepared for what has come thus far. And
it's one, to a certain degree, sorry to cut you, it's one thing knowing that something's going to happen, but like it's another thing having everything in place and having an idea or a plan as to how to kind of thrive during that period as well.
And the thing is, there's been so many people as well that have been able to, that have had plans for this, or didn't plan for this, but had things set in a way that this pandemic didn't really affect them too much, other than obviously if they've experienced any losses and transitions in their families and their close network, and maybe getting to and from work, etc. But generally, overall, there's quite a lot of people that seem to have been able to use the time for reflection, self-empowerment, etc., etc. Spend time with family, have a break from general society. But again, today we kind of want to look at what can we do, and examples of what we can do. I was thinking about examples of what we could do, but then the examples back in the day, how effective would it be today? I guess that's a question.
Because times are always changing, so you've always got to be evolving, I suppose. Yeah, we're going to introduce our other guest, Mia from C&D Drinks. Let's see.
Hi.
Greetings, Mia. Grand Rising.
Sorry about that. Had some technical difficulties.
No, that's fine.
Oh, yes, I've been here. So, greetings, everybody. Looking forward to chatting a bit more in a bit.
Cool.
Would you like to introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Mia. I'm the owner of C&D Drinks, which is a family homemade drinks business. We've expanded across quite a bit of London, and we're going beyond as well. But I've got some upcoming ventures over the next few months that are a lot more community based in terms of pretty much what we're going to be speaking about today, to be honest. So that will be kind of alongside C&D Drinks.
Awesome. How is the year so far been for you? I mean, if you're happy to talk about, and for your business as well.
It's been an interesting one. So a lot of things that I had planned for this year, I wasn't able to execute. But it's definitely been a learning experience, and obviously I was able to kind of grow the online side of business. As an individual, I won't lie to you, I'm not big on social media. I'm not big on the whole online thing, but it's absolutely necessary in this day and age. And I think obviously this year has kind of put that in everybody's faces without a shadow of a doubt. You need to kind of obviously utilize what's out there. A few of the things that I wanted to do just weren't possible this year at all, but it's forced me to kind of obviously be a bit more creative and look at other ways of doing things and work on stuff that I wouldn't necessarily have moved on to this year. So it's pros and cons.
That's good. That's awesome.
Personally, I'm looking forward to your next announcements when you're ready to release or divulge that information. Sounds interesting still.
Yeah, my children love your drinks as well. They're always going banging on about it. The sorrel, I think, was it sorrel and the ginger shots, the ginger one.
Yes.
Yeah. Amazing.
Good choices. Those are my favorites as well.
Let's see if Gianni's ready.
Greetings, King.
How you doing?
Yeah, not too.
I have to involve my princess in the equation, so to speak, but she's not going to be sitting on daddy's lap too long. Good morning, people.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you want to introduce yourself a bit and let people know who you are, Johnny?
Stop. Good morning, everyone. Stop. 1 second. Yeah, go. Curious George. Go on, quickly.
No.
Quickly. Guys, give me 1 second, yeah?
Yes, all right. Don't worry.
I apologize.
It's parenting platform. This is what we have to deal with as well. Do you know what I mean? It's part and parcel. So, what are your how do you define in your own, well, I guess in your own words, obviously, collective responsibility and collective working responsibility, basically? How can we define it and understand it? Because I'm not sure if everybody, sees things the same way. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. How can we define it? Well, I think, to me, I feel like it kind of is, it's returning to how instinctively we are as people anyway, in terms of, like, obviously we hear a lot of the people saying it takes a village to raise a child, which I know that you guys obviously quote a lot. that sort of thing of like, for me personally, I would say I fall very much in the middle category. I don't have kids yet, but I'm no longer a child. When I see young children from the community or school kids or whatever, I feel a sense of responsibility if I see something happening that, whether it be troublemaking, whether it be someone in trouble, whether it be overhearing a conversation where I feel like I have a positive or constructive input, like I naturally feel inclined to offer something where I can. Also, when it comes to, I know there's been a big move towards supporting Black businesses this year for those who weren't already doing so, perhaps, and stuff like that. I mean, those are things that really and truly should come naturally, but I know there's a lot of things, obviously, in the society and the environment in which we live that maybe makes it not as easy as it would be in other settings. But it's just really understanding, I suppose, the part that you play as an individual in the bigger picture in terms of us as a community pushing forward, because we obviously had historically a number of obstacles that may have prevented our path being as direct as would be ideal. But at the same time, rather than looking to others, there's so much that we can do for ourselves if we just acknowledge that responsibility that we all have in the bigger picture. If I went straight too far off what the question was.
No.
Perfect.
Always as on point as usual.
I think it can be essentially difficult for people because we're so, like as you said, because of the historical things that have been put in place and where we're at now, people don't always necessarily know where to begin. And even then, maybe about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, people would feel comfortable with intervening with, for example, if things were happening on the road with the young people. But these days, a lot of our people from our community are a bit more reluctant to do so. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, everybody, like, we all have our own individual differences. People have different characters, different personalities, different strengths, different weaknesses. So I think, like, for me, I definitely feel like I recognize areas where I may be well placed or well positioned to be able to do something that maybe someone else may not be in such a good position to do. Like, so for example, even amongst the community, we have different backgrounds. I know that there's certain settings that some people will feel more comfortable intervening than others, that sort of thing. And of course, like, for example, you the person who may be able to, I don't know, go forward and, just to give a random example, like, go forward and assist with football coaching for young children who want to maybe move forward in a sports way, may not be the same person who's going to tutor a child maths. But we all have, again, there's so much more to the world than those examples given, but we all have things that obviously we can offer one way or another, however that may be. So yeah, in a certain setting, someone may not always feel that they can maybe step forward and intervene in a situation taking place amongst young people, even old people in the workplace, that people may have different considerations, but others may feel better positioned to do so. So, like, for example, I've been self-employed for almost 6 years, but I started working part-time this year as a result of COVID. But even though obviously it was a step that I took because of circumstances, I also am very aware of what I'm capable of doing outside of the setting of a job. So there's certain things I won't take in a job because, to me, I'm willing to lose it for certain principles. I know that not everybody is in a position to take that same stance. So there's certain things that I will say and certain things I will stand up for within a workplace setting that the next person may not. And I will use that position to the fullest because I know that sometimes there's certain things that, if you can do, you should do. That's my personal opinion. So yeah, everyone's situation is different. So just know what you can do to help.
Definitely. There was I've for years I've kind of admired your work ethic. Like, every time I see you or we've been at different events, you're constantly busy, you're constantly on the go. And obviously you run a family-run business. Could you kind of break down how your personal experience has been working with family?
Right. So, as you guys may or may not know from previous conversation, I never really sat down and set up a business as far as C&D Drinks goes. The drinks are something that me and my dad used to make. We initially... So to be honest, it was from kind of like even old generation. So like my grandmother, my dad's mum used to make these drinks just as a normal thing. And my dad decided that he wanted to try out basically like a bit of a variation on some recipes for his birthday. So after we did that and friends and family liked it, we used to get orders from friends and family for parties or just personal use or whatever. And that went on for a number of years. I would sometimes take some down to like the hairdressers, which my hairdresser at the time was also a barbershop as well, stuff like that. But it never really went beyond that. So at the point at which I saw, wait a minute, this is actually doing all right for something that I haven't set out to do. Let me try and take it a little bit further. Me and my dad saw it very differently. He's obviously at a different stage in life where he's happy to relax, and what he was getting from it, he was getting from it. It wasn't really, he didn't necessarily have the same vision as me as to what could be done with it. So in terms of working with family, we definitely had a lot of clashing in terms of the way that I saw things going, the way he saw things going, which after a period of time led to me just kind of taking it forward and him taking more of a back seat. So he still offers a lot of assistance, and we had a hell of a lot of arguments, but that calmed down a bit when I think once he actually saw, well, actually, maybe I didn't see it going like this, but I can kind of see what you meant now. So yeah, he's very supportive, as are other family members. And yeah, but it's definitely a different dynamic working with family versus just being family. So yeah.
So this is the thing. It's like often people automatically dismiss working with families, but I think what you kind of illustrated there is as long as you kind of find a position to play, then you can run a business together. It's just about how you both kind of, or how everyone involved kind of finds their position and fits in. Yeah. So it just, for me, it elaborates on the fact that it isn't impossible, but there might be some hiccups and what have you involved, but don't give up. Just keep on pushing forward.
The perseverance, definitely. And it's admirable as well that your dad was able to recognize the efforts and the results of your efforts. Say that again?
I said eventually.
Yeah, well, it happens though. Some people with elders, that doesn't happen at all. Do you get what I mean?
That's true. I mean, in our case, as I said, because we didn't set out to do it initially, it definitely took some time and going through some like certain situations to then come out the other side and say, okay, well, actually, like you're very good at that. I'm very good at this. We can make this work. Now that we understand that we're trying to build something bigger, whereas obviously, as I said, not having gone into it with that mindset and him being that bit older and more relaxed about the whole thing, and me not even really knowing where I wanted to take it, I think, that process was necessary. Yeah.
That's amazing. Let's see. I was just wondering if our other guest was ready.
Good morning, guys. Apologies. It's the job of being a Black British parent, you know. I got my daughter here with me. I thought, you know what, she wanted to kind of interact, and I thought, let me just show, you know what I mean, the real human side in regards to, you know, father and daughter and things of that nature. But she ain't gonna be able to hold her composure, so I sit down and watch Curious George, you know. But greetings all. My name's Johnny Joby, from South London originally, Brixton, raised throughout. I reside out of town. I ain't gonna disclose that. I am an A&R of a label called S9 Records, brought to you by Mega Man himself, So Solid. And I'm also an aspiring entrepreneur. I'm just trying to create different pockets just to have that economic system based around my family, and just planting the seed in regards to just generating business, and then like starting from home and then bringing it out. So, because it's all about the independence at the end of the day. We've done the things of working for the man, so to speak, or other people for a long time. We need to break that cycle. And the mindset over here is just entrepreneurship, business, and just having that financial freedom for you to just be free and just live accordingly in regards to your nature, you know. So I will bring in what I'm up to and what I'm doing and things of that nature. But that's just me for now. I'm a musician as well, artist, you know, other things, but we ain't gonna get into all of that.
I know you're a brother with many talents and fingers in a lot of pies. So
And,
it's thank you for joining us this morning.
excuse me, yeah, because this is my first time ever doing any, like, this is the first time ever I've ever done this kind of thing. Yeah?
No, you're good, man. You're good.
Bear with me.
But yeah, even then, with regards to you having your daughter with you, it just shows, as you said, it shows the human side of us. It shows that there are active men around and involved in their children's lives as well, and it's a very powerful image to kind of see, regardless of whether it pans out well or not. It's just it is real. So thanks for sharing
that's what
that
we
with
deal
us.
with here as well. We're doing it straight, like we're not in the puppy stuff. So, but yeah.
Trust me, certain times you just want to gag the children and just like handcuff them so they stop running around the house while you're on a live still.
I'll sit back.
No, I'm playing.
Yeah.
Just before we get knocked at the door. But yeah, thanks for joining us.
That's
With
all right.
regards to working with a collective of different people and having different people have different ideas of how a plan should be executed or how things should work. What's your experience been with regards to that?
Working with different people.
Yeah, on certain projects, because naturally, I can imagine with your A&R business, there's a lot of people that have a lot of perspective or ideas as to how things should pan out, but it doesn't necessarily mean that work for the collective sort of thing.
You kind of got to have a feel for every position or every kind of feeling, in a sense of you have to be a coach as well, in a way, in regards to just dealing with people. So it's a case of you have to kind of be an all-rounder, because there's a lot that comes with, especially when you have artists or talent or people who say that they want to do music and certain things of that nature, but as well as what their aspirations and what their dreams might entail, there's the real side of them. So you also have to deal with the real factor and then balance it with the talent and the dreams. And it's not always easy to be that big sister or big brother, that mentor. You're definitely putting other people first before you. You know what I mean? Their needs come first before yours does. It's just a case of balance, really. It's not the easiest thing. I'm gonna be 100 with you, but like you learn as you earn, you know, or you earn as you learn, so to speak.
Yeah, I think you draw on a very important point there, where we don't see that a lot often in society, a lot in our community, a lot in our families, even where we're putting people before ourselves, and I think it's overlooked that if we sometimes we do it in the wrong way as well. But I mean, generally speaking, if we put others, if we're in a circle of people or a family unit where everyone's putting everyone else before themselves, then everyone will get looked after. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
You have to have a discipline for it, in a sense, because sometimes it can be taken for granted. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to have a kind of well, you can't go too extreme in regards to how you offer yourself and your value and things of that nature. You know what I mean? You have to kind of be protected in a certain way. You know, you kind of, you know, because like once business or whatever it is that you're dealing with when it comes to helping other people around you, once that's over, you got to kind of save some things for yourself, and you can't flow from an empty cup, I guess. You know what I mean? So the same kind of, you know what I mean, the same things that you give to others, in a sense of balance, it should be reciprocated on a receiving end, but not directly by the same individuals, just in general. You know what I'm saying? So balance.
I hear that, man. I hear that. How do you deal with because both of you are in a certain, because you lot are kind of dealing from a leadership space. How do you deal with the pressure of responsibility? I'll ask Mia first. How do you handle having the responsibility of a brand, the responsibility of customers and clients? How do you deal with that pressure, if there is any pressure at all?
I've never thought of it in from the point of view of pressure. However, when it comes to customers, obviously I try and give a service that I would want to receive myself. At the same time, like we were talking about balance, I have to acknowledge that the vast majority of my business I'm doing myself. So there's only so much I can do. And I've had to learn to put in place things to take that into account. So for example, the time I was giving myself to fulfill orders previously became impractical as the business moved forward. So that was something that I had to simply just put in writing and say, this is now the time that you can expect, because again, there's only so much that I can do. And although I do have help, and I do have people who work for me on a casual basis, even still the operation is what it is at the moment. And I would rather say it up front than say what something else and disappoint. And then as an extension of that, a lot of the time as Black business owners, we have to take into consideration that we don't always have the benefit of being judged individually. If someone has a bad experience with one Black-owned business, they quite commonly will generalize that to all Black-owned businesses, whereas it doesn't happen on the other side. So saying that, I do take that responsibility seriously and try and obviously provide a service that someone would expect to get if they from any size business that they went to, owned by anyone, because again, we can sometimes be judged quite harshly. And at the end of the day, like we were saying to begin with, we all have a responsibility. We all have a part to play in these things, whether true or not. And then the other part, you said, what was the other part of the question? You talked about customers. You said something else, which I was going to respond to.
No, it was literally just the pressures of dealing with the responsibility of
yeah. So that side, that's definitely made me think differently now that because for a long, like when I started, when CND became a brand, so the drinks were there, but when it became a brand, I was very aware of the fact that I was now attached to a brand. And for a long time, I didn't put my face on anything because, to be honest, I don't like cameras, I don't like pictures, I don't like none of that. So CND Drinks was there, and those who knew it was me, but I wasn't putting it out there like it was me. And still, to an extent, I'm not really, but obviously I've met so many people along the way that a lot of people do know who it's associated with. And from that point of view, I had to watch how I behave. Not to say that I'm going around causing trouble, but at the same time, I had to remember that I'm attached to a brand, and I don't want to defame my own brand through stupid behavior. So the way that obviously I carry myself, interact with people, whether that be at events directly associated with the brand or not, I need to realize that it has a much longer lasting, potentially much longer lasting effect than if it's just me going around as me. And so that's definitely made me think twice about certain things. Yeah, I would say I'm more conscious of how I come across. I wouldn't say not in a way where I'm not being true to myself, but I think about it. Like, I don't want to misrepresent a brand, as I say, especially as it has that father-daughter story attached as well. So I don't want to also, create any reason for a bad name, not just for myself, but for my father as well. But yeah, I want whatever someone thinks, having had an association with me or the brand, to be positive and not negative. So yeah, that's it really.
Thank you for that. Yeah, Grand Rising, Siobhan. Thank you for joining us. Hope all is well.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much for having me.
Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and let people know who you are and your background?
Okay, my name is Siobhan LeQuent. I was the founder of a company called Afro Toys. The reason that this company came to be is because I had 2 beautiful children, and I really, really needed to provide them with toys that looked like themselves. So I started a multicultural toys and books company. We first started online and going to a few small events. And the events were mainly parties that I would host. And then obviously we were, I was invited to more and more larger events. And I think just momentum sort of grown from there. And I've received a lot of support from the community, especially at this time of year. So I'm thankful for that. And yeah, is there anything else that you want me to?
No, you're fine there. I know you're a woman with many different skill sets, so we won't go too too far into it. But yeah, with regards to collective work and responsibility, um, how do you see us as a community, and how what's your perception of how we feel we are responsible for one another in our community at the moment?
Well, I think that this year has shown us that, we're starting to feel more of a responsibility towards each other, in terms of supporting Black businesses, and, making an effort to actually try and find out, who is providing a service that we need before we employ them. And I think that's definitely something that, that we should have adopted long ago, because I know now that, people will say that, they would rather pay for quality, than go and scout for the cheapest, for the cheapest person. And I think that sometimes, what depending on if you're paying for a commodity or for a service, but especially with a commodity, you can't always buy something for £5. And people used to be quite, adamant. Well, why does it cost this much? But if something is coming from outside of the country, or if you are using your own man hours to make something, sometimes it does become not expensive. That's not the word I want to use. But it does reflect the quality of what you're buying. And I think that a lot of people now sort of they realize that, and they are prepared to support businesses now, because of that. And I also think it's important because our kids need to see us with businesses. They need to know that it's not a big deal to walk into a Black man's shop, or it's not a big deal to go to the Black hair shop instead of the other one. And I think that it's very important for them to see Black business owners and Black shop owners as a regular thing, because then it's not a big deal to go into their shop or to support their business. It's a natural thing. And so that's why I think that it's very important what's happening now, because a lot of people are making a point of trying to find Black owners.
Yeah. One of the things that kind of stand out in what you just said there is that we should, in essence, normalize seeing people that look like us owning businesses and scouting out those businesses to do business with. So yeah, definitely.
I feel like it should be. I feel like it should be so normal that it doesn't even reflect in the kids' minds anymore. Like, oh my days, there's a Black person who owns this business. It shouldn't be like that, because they don't do that with anybody else. So it should be a case where it's just a normal, everyday thing, and there should be choice for them. There shouldn't just be one shop that does one thing. And I say this because Deborah, you'll know as well, when we've been to events sometimes, if you're selling toys, there'll be another business owner there, and sometimes they're not particularly friendly.
Yeah.
Or they want to come and see, what price tags you've got on your table. And it's not necessary, because, if Woolworths, Marks and Spencer, and Tesco's and Sainsbury's can all sell toys and still, work side by side, there's no reason why we can't do that either. There's no reason why we can't work together, and collaborate when you have the same products. It shouldn't be an issue. It should be a case of trying to build each other up and helping to build each other up and building that trust. Because once we have that trust in our community that it's a regular thing to do this, then, it will definitely, one, it will help us to become stronger, but two, it will build some foundations for our children to see that this is also a normal thing and not a don't trust nobody. Because We can't keep that mentality of don't trust nobody, because it doesn't help us and it's not going to help our kids.
Of course, I mean, bringing it back to what you're saying, obviously we've got a history of working, being at events and, having market stalls and stuff like that. And I think for myself, in those years when I was doing it, it was the first time I really saw like the collective actual work and responsibility. Like everyone was coming to consume, and there was all the people that was coming to sell what they had, and the children were there, families were there, all kinds of people coming. And it's like, since that kind of, it didn't die down, but didn't feel as strong as it was up until maybe 2 or 3 years ago, maybe. And this year, obviously with COVID, it feels like it hasn't. It's been so much like
diminished to
yeah,
some degree, because there isn't that physical meet-up space,
and it makes it a bit more challenging. So in that respect, I'm just like, I mean, you touched on it as well, but I'm going to ask this question perhaps to someone else. But the concept of how can we encourage and educate our children to take this kind of concept on, because we kind of, I don't know if I really watched my parents or elders really. I'm lying. I think with the older generation, like our grandparent generation, there was a lot more collective work and responsibility. And then I think later on, it's the generation after that, it was kind of still there, but it wasn't necessarily as emphasized with black owned or black owned businesses. And I think like more recently, maybe the last 10 years or so, it seems, I could be wrong, but this is just my experience, that it's kind of resurfaced again. And obviously within the last year, as much as the events have kind of like, the physical events have slowed down a bit, the Black Pound Day kind of took its place and it just became a phenomenon all over the social media. But how can we basically encourage and have a positive impact on our children, so that, as Siobhan was saying, it becomes a normal part of our living as opposed to striving for it? And I think I'll ask maybe Mia.
I think one of the things that we need to do in regards to this topic, as well as many others, is number one, have the conversations, like talking about it, talking about the reasons why we should support black businesses, the reasons why it should be normal, like Siobhan said, and just making it a part of life. So like, for example, a conversation I had with another black business owner regarding Black Pound Day is, Black Pound Day is a fantastic initiative. And I feel like it's encouraged a lot of people who weren't necessarily conscious of who they bought from previously, to now think about where are they purchasing things from, how can they seek out a black-owned alternative, etc., etc. And it's a great start. But moving forward from that great start, it needs to become something that's consistent. It's not one day a month. It's not, and it's not just necessarily for novel things. And I do find that a lot of the time, I know I've had this conversation with a few people. When people buy from black-owned businesses, it's often something novel. It might be a gift. It might be something that they don't need. We need to move into the area of really collectively purchasing the things that we use every day from black-owned businesses, but also, like Siobhan mentioned, I know we've spoken about before, if people work together, if you're working in the same sector or industry as another black-owned business, there's no reason why you can't work together in terms of purchasing, in terms of other elements of your business that can allow you to utilize economy of scale, or just be able to grow. Or like, we need to come together and strategize. I know this doesn't quite answer what you asked, but there are things that we can do to make this more accessible, so up and coming generations, younger people, it's not a difficult thing. It should be a case where you can go around the corner and go to a black owned shop. You don't necessarily have to travel 5-10 miles. You don't necessarily have to send out a broadcast message to ask, does anybody know someone who sells this? So there's steps that we can take towards that mean that, as you say, it will become not even second nature, but just absolutely natural. It will be your first instinct to buy from a black owned business, because it's there, and it's not. People naturally are going to tend to do the easiest thing. Obviously, there are exceptions who will go out of their way to do certain things, but generally speaking, most people will opt for what is easy. So someone doesn't want to go past the corner shop that's 2 minutes around the corner from them to go to somewhere else, or to maybe go online and shop. So, but I think at the same time, at the point at which we maybe do need to make that extra effort, the more people are doing it and setting that example, the more it makes other people question their own behavior, and are they doing what they can, and are they playing their part at this time? My mum joined the call a little while ago, and she can vouch for the fact that I often ask her, I'll go to her house, pick up stuff and be like, where'd you get this from? What's this brand? And I'll say to her, well, there is so-and-so, there's this brand that does exactly the same thing, or possibly better, or better quality, or whatever. Why not buy from them? So within our circles, within our families, friends, whatever, there are ways in which we can encourage others, if we have a little bit more exposure or knowledge, to start making those changes. And yeah, and I feel like obviously in doing that, we will eventually get there, along with initiatives that are on a wider scale, such as Black Pound Day and the likes.
Yeah, thank you. And Gianni, I wanted to ask you as well, like, what kind of things can we do as a Black community to be more accountable for working together and being more responsible, not necessarily Black economics wise, or Black pound, or money wise, or business wise, but just, you know, as a sense of community, what kind of things could we be looking at?
Like Mia said, it's definitely got to do with mindset. I think she said something about mindset, about, you know, implementing it in our heads, like, you know, like we should be doing economics like it's normal anyway, as opposed to seeing it from the outside perspective and then following suit in regards to how the system's already been put together. Community wise, it's common sense, support your own, you know, but it's a conditioning that we've all been programmed to, that, you know, we go with what is like our norm within our psyche, but support your own. I mean, there's an area that I'm in right now, you got like companies like Riley's, they do like, you know, what you get from a halal shop or Asian man store when it comes to like green banana planting or whatever, go to Riley's. Pinkel's, this is a girl who does clothing and things of that nature. She makes clothes, she sews and things of that nature. Like, it's just a case of just knowing your environment, knowing your territory, and stepping into, you know, the sectors of where your people are and sharing with them. Because I said the other day, I don't know if I was speaking to you, Debbie, it's like, we don't really have a Black community. If you're not trying to, because we don't control nothing, it's more like we're still in a colony. And even though people might agree, disagree, but I mean it in a sense of, when we start controlling things as a collective community, that's when things start to make sense. So like 2020, well, this period has definitely shown a lot of people like, you know what, I need to opt out of this system and start doing for self. Once you start to do for self in a sense of, you're able to build something out of nothing and build that momentum and traction, you feel liberated. There's a certain kind of feeling that you're like, wow, you know what? I never knew that I could do this by myself. Then once you're on that goal, you will then feel that kind of upliftness to try and rub off on the next person. And then it's just a domino effect. And then like, hopefully you want the outcome to be like, all right, this is a pattern that everybody's following suit and we helping each other out. It's like back in the days, our parents used to do the partner thing. They used to, you know what I mean? And it's like, we do that, but we don't have that trust within we don't have that trust amongst ourselves. And a lot of times we're always trying to take the shortcuts. Sorry to sound wrong, but as Black folk, we're always trying to shortcut and shortchange our own. We need to stop shortchanging our own. Like, we need to stop saying, you know, if you giving me a price for your product and I'm like, well, can you do it to me for this? I should be able to pay that same price that you know what I mean, in fair exchange, without feeling any other way. You know, even when we borrow money and, you know, help people and this, that, and the other, we're quick to pay our bills, multi-million-pound companies and this, that, and the other. But when we help a person out, or a friend or a family member, they're always delaying the process of paying you back and this, that, and the other. So there's a kind of like accountability that we got to take on ourselves, change our mindset, and feel and put ourselves in a thought process where it's like, you're not gonna get robbed. We can be trustworthy. You know, we can create a synergy amongst ourselves that, you know, we'll be able to build a structure and a foundation to build on that can actually provide something as growth for our generation, even in our time now, and the next generation. So for me, it's a mindset. It's a mindset. Start with your family, start with your local community, and then branch out, you know, because not everybody's ready for change. Not everybody's ready for change. It's still going to be a bit of a while before we start getting it into our daily practices, like we go to the gym or when we're going out, dressing up, looking nice and this, that and the other. We have to get it into our daily practice.
Thanks for that, Johnny.
I just feel energized after hearing that alone. Yeah, but yeah, definitely. I know a few comments on YouTube where people are in agreement with you as well. Sabina, sorry,
Mia went to.
Mia, sorry, go on.
No, sorry, just to follow on from one of the things that Gianni said in regards to not having a black community, I agree and I disagree. One of the things that the Black Pound Day event that they've had in Birmingham the last few months, I've been attending that as opposed to the London one, because where it was held, we couldn't, I couldn't sell drinks, so obviously it was of no use to me from a business perspective. So the Birmingham one, number one, I was very impressed by the fact that it was held in a Black-owned venue. I don't know if you're familiar with the Legacy Centre. I think you've been there before, actually.
The Legacy in Birmingham?
Yeah.
I think that might have been the one where we took John.
I think so, yeah, go on.
Yeah, so obviously that's a Black-owned venue. We don't have anything like that in London on that scale.
Yeah.
So even to be able to hold the Black Pound Day event in London in a Black-owned venue is not possible, based upon the fact that we don't have a Black-owned venue that could facilitate it. And also, I feel like the Black community in Birmingham are so much more tight-knit, so much more supportive. Obviously, I know that my experience there was only based upon one event. So obviously, people would have come there to support, and it was promoted for that very purpose. But it opened my eyes a little bit, because obviously, you tend to just generalize everything based upon what you see in your immediate setting. So it was definitely, for me, a positive experience going to that event. I think I've been about 5 since whenever they started during the year. And to see that obviously in the UK, just a couple hundred miles up the road, we do have a black community that I would say is somewhat more progressive than ours in London. That's my opinion. So it shows that it's very much possible. And I think both in joining together with those in Birmingham and wherever else in the UK and expanding upon the mindset that I think they're just a step ahead with, there's so much that we can do. I think we're definitely on the way and I see it happening. But yeah, no, it was definitely a positive for me to see how they were doing things.
Thank you. I think he's going to ask Siobhan something.
Yeah, Siobhan, with your business, Afro Toys, do you feel that you're supported by the community that you're trying to provide a product for?
I know we've had conversations about this, and recently, there's definitely been much more, support towards, especially from the younger Black parents as well. There's been a lot more support for the toys. But I would say, especially like, a good 10 years ago, it was, why are they so ugly? Why should I pay for that when there's a white one in Sainsbury's for £8? And obviously, you explain to people, well, this comes from overseas, or this one is manufactured in Africa. And obviously, I understand that, the customer doesn't really need to know the whole rundown of where the toy comes from and everything, but I'm trying to explain why the toy is special, or why perhaps, there's a £3 or a £5 difference, because I always do try and make sure that if there's an equivalent in the shop, that, I make sure it's comparable, because obviously I know as a parent that, I don't want to pay extra. And so I found that if I don't have to, I found that the support has definitely taken a bit of a boomerang. So at the beginning it was, oh yeah, this is lovely, we really like this. But then, after a couple of years, I do find that the support was kind of
dwindling.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, I don't know, Gianni and Mia, I would but before we used to go to, you know, the big events like National November, I would just go around giving out cards first of all, and I would go to people who are obviously parents. So for me, I could definitely tell the reaction would be things like, well, why would I want a black doll? Why does it have to be black? You know, and I don't understand where the attitude would come from. I didn't understand, you know, why people would be so offended that you would suggest that they might like a black doll. Which is why I would give them the card photograph first so they could see that they were Barbies, and you know, I wanted them to be the same toys that my child was watching on TV. So yeah, I would say that this year, I agree with Mia that Black Pound Day has definitely made people more conscious. And to be honest with you, you know, it's quite sad that we've had this lockdown, we've had so much tragedy with our Black men, and in fact, not just with our Black men, with the Black community here and overseas. And you know, I don't want to say it wouldn't have happened, but it shouldn't take for these big tragedies to happen for people to start questioning what is going on, why is it happening, and why aren't we helping to push each other up and elevate each other? It shouldn't take big tragedies to happen for that to happen. And so I hope that this is the last time that that's a big tragedy that results in this surge. But I definitely see there's a notable change in support from the community. Yes. You know, so yeah, I definitely see there's a different kind of support this year.
It's crazy because from that you can almost see that in order for us to collectively kind of progress and work together, there has to be an element of racial esteem, which is something we always talk about a lot. And it isn't until you truly see a situation where you don't feel included or you feel targeted that you start to question your space or your validity and what community you're really a part of for that change to happen. And it is as you're saying, Siobhan, it's a shame that it has to get.
I think as well, it's interesting what I'm noticing happening is as you know, following on from what Siobhan said in terms of the surge and the cause of that surge and where it's put us. Yes, it's in a great place, but then we're also have to be aware of and mindful of the indirect and direct attacks on us coming together as a collective, because we've got things like, you know, the COVID conspiracies that are dividing us as a community as well. Do you know what I mean? So the minute we get together on something, there's something else. And then I think recently I've been seeing things. I've been saying this all week. The whole I don't know if it's the government as such or news articles as such talking about these so-called woke people and you know, the war on wokeness and that kind of thing. And it's like, then technically who and what are they talking about? You know, and that in itself, having a certain awareness, or I say consciousness, but it's just an awareness, having these things is also the things that are, as I was saying, the conspiracy theories that are dividing us as a culture, as a people, because we can't see a perspective without having to feel threatened by it or feel like it's going to put us in a certain light or perspective.
Absolutely.
In the grander scheme of things in community. So I think it's really imperative that we try and be more, you know, collectively responsible for ourselves and for each other, and be a bit more mindful of the things that are coming at us as a community.
Definitely, especially the things that are coming at us, our community, to divide us.
Yeah.
Because I think over the years, as us as a community, we've seen enough division between us, whether it's religion, islands, countries, continents. So, and even then, what Siobhan was saying with regards to the boomerang effect, where it's like at the initial time when something is fresh and new, there's that surge, and then after a while it fades away. It's like, how do we keep up the momentum so that we don't fall to make these things fall to the wayside, and we stay focused and we stay on top of these things so that we can create the change and build the infrastructures that we need.
And not be afraid to do it as well, because of the labels and attachments that they put onto us negatively as a result of what we're trying to accomplish. But yeah, I think we're coming up to the end of the hour, so I just wanted to ask you all individually for a message that you'd like to share with Black British parents. I'll start with Mia, please.
To kind of follow on from what you were just saying, I would say that people need to, I think two things that we often lack within the community, again, not to generalize, I know it's not everybody, is long-term thinking and kind of looking at the bigger picture. And like you were saying, there are a lot of divisive things such as perspectives on COVID or whatever else it may be, is to look beyond that and realize that there's so much more for us to do and so much more for us to work past, and so much that we can do for ourselves, that sometimes you need to ignore those things that you may not agree on, which in the grand scheme of things are pretty trivial, and just know that there is so much to be gained from working with the next Black person for our overall success and progress. So yeah, I would say kind of just look past the things that in the short term don't matter and think about, okay, but if I do this with Gianni, if I do this with Siobhan, if I do this with Debbie, if I do this with Dwayne, where's it going to take me 5-10 years from now? What's it going to do for my children, my grandchildren, as opposed to I don't like what he said, or I don't like how he looks at that, which is ridiculous.
Thank you for that, Mia. Gianni, do you have any messages for Black British parents, please?
Oh boy. I would just say everyone who's gone through this testing and challenging times. Sorry, stop. Everyone who's gone through these testings and challenging times, just keep doing what you're doing, keep pushing and persevering, because at the end of the day, we've been through a lot of challenges from before within our grandparents' time, parents' time. Obviously, we're feeling it now. There's nothing that can stop us. We just need to just tap in to our gifts and qualities. Stop. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Cool.
Don't apologize.
We just need to tap in to our gifts and qualities, and also look into areas where a lot of things is going on, where there's opportunities right now. But within this COVID smoke, we're not seeing it. Like they're not there. And some people are tapping in, seeing what kind of opportunities are there for us to tap into and things of that nature. But with a lot of distractions. So I would just say lock in, try and fizzle out all the noise, stay focused, and obstacles will be hurdled, you know what I mean? So it's just it's hazy right now, but just stay strong, keep pushing, and we just have to adjust in regards to the current climate,
Thank you, Gianni. And Siobhan, I'll ask the same question. Do you have a message for Black British parents, please?
Yeah, I think that this has definitely been a period for us to kind of like regroup and readjust to a new way of working. But the thing is that it can work in our favor, because as far as I'm concerned, everything that we do, it should be a reflection of what we hope for our kids to achieve, and we're just doing the groundwork. It all starts and it ends with our kids, with our children. And so I think whatever example we're setting for them now is how they're going to be able to I've forgotten what the word is, but to work their way, or to navigate the future and whatever is going to pop up in the future, because we don't know what's going to happen. This is just the beginning, and we don't know what's going to happen.
Thank you so much.
It's all about the kids and all about the children. I know some people don't like saying the word kids, but it's all about the children and what we can project for them and prepare them for. And success is the word I mean.
Siobhan, thank you so much for joining us. Mia, thank you for joining us. Gianni, thank you for taking the time.
Guys,
as a busy parent, juggling this thing.
I'm so sorry, by the way, that
I'm going off my access today, but next time.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
Siobhan was saying something as well. I don't know what Siobhan, I didn't hear.
Oh no, I said it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure being here, and I'm so sorry that it was halfway through, but
no.
It couldn't be helped.
Don't worry. There'll be
Yeah.
plenty of other times. Trust it, we'll be including in our conversations again.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much.
To Mia and Gianni as well.
Always there. I'm
Yes.
gonna get in touch with you guys as well.
Yeah, definitely. Going to
That's beautiful. This is just amazing.
All right, then, wonderful. All right, then, thanks a lot, guys. If anything, for all our listeners, followers, we will be having another session again tomorrow with another group of panelists. We'll be here again at 11 o'clock. So hope to see you guys there again.
And I also forgot to mention our giveaway. I mean, we've got a giveaway going on as well. So please go to our Black British Parent page on Instagram for details. We have 3 prizes. First prize is two free online cooking lessons for children, given to us by the wonderful Tasteful Munch. It's for 8 years and plus. My second prize is a wonderful, beautiful black doll from Afro Toys, Siobhan's Afro Toys. And the third prize is a book, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. So what you have to do is follow our IG account, like the post with the giveaway post, and tag 3 friends underneath. And also, the most important thing is take a screenshot of you watching one of our lives over the next few days, and we'll announce the winner on the 3rd of January on our Sunday live. All right.
I see you. Yeah. All right, cool. Thanks.
Have a blessed afternoon, guys. Take care. Thank you for joining us.